There. So you guys have it on Thursday. So we'll do a review here today of a couple of things. Then we will do a new lesson on, well, tomorrow for you guys. And then Thursday before it, we'll do a little bit of both. We'll probably review the new stuff, because I'm sure we'll still need a little work on it. And then we'll maybe do a little tiny review on a couple of old things that we don't get to today. Yes, sir.
Question.
Yep.
So I'm not going to be here Thursday or Friday because I have districts in the theater for school. I'll like the whole day. So I can do it earlier. I'm going to give me it like earlier.
I'm not giving it early.
Not for the whole class for me.
Nope. Unless you want to do it without your notes. I'll give it to you early if you don't get to use your notes. You want to do it early?
What is it about? What is it about?
Okay,
then I guess, yeah.
I mean, where there's a new thing, we'll do tomorrow, so you can't take it before tomorrow. So you'd have to do it Wednesday probably, unless you stay out.
No, I can do it Wednesday.
Oh boy, I don't even like that though. Well, yeah, if you don't have notes, I mean, if you don't use your notes, I mean, again, that's dangerous to not have your notes.
No, I can watch the videos, but you know.
You think no, I'm not gonna do it. I changed my mind. Because I can guarantee you, without your notes, you're not going to do as well as you would with your notes. You can't. No, you can't. Make your own notes. You can't leave here with paper. You will get the test and a pencil, and that's it. And you will walk out with nothing. Because I can't let you see. I mean, I really don't even want you to see the test before other people see it. I mean, that's opening myself up to way too many things that I don't want to open myself up to. So anyway, let's go ahead and go over this. So again, evaluate means that. Domain and range. Where does domain come from, we said? Yes, domain is the x values. I'm just going to write x's, but that's what it means. Range is then what? The y values. What's the other two rules?
Write in order smallest to greatest and repeat value.
So smallest to largest. And then and this last one, I'm going to do some clarifying. Because I think there was a misunderstanding on that last piece, what that means. Now, yeah, any values, and not just y values, any values. But, again, I'm going to clarify what that means, because I think some people misunderstood it. Now, we did plenty of examples where this would have happened. I'm not sure how they misunderstood it, unless they were just getting them wrong the entire time, and I didn't realize why they were getting things wrong. Oh, I did not mean to do that. No, stop it. Oh boy, is that going to pop up on the screen? So, stop it. Yeah, we'll just move on. So let's do an example. So here's a set. I will tell you right now, the domain and range on the quiz on the next exit ticket will not be from ordered pairs. Will not. It will be from a graph. There's only going to be one of them, only one problem where you do domain and range. It will be from a graph. So this is not an example that's going to help you a whole lot, unless you take the points off the graph and put them into ordered pairs. But I can tell you right now, there were probably, let's just say, 50 people that did it that way. They took the ordered pairs and oh no, I'm sorry, not 50, 20. Let's say there were 20 people that did it that way. And they took the ordered pairs on the graph, they put them into ordered pairs, and that's how they did it. I bet you 18 of them got it wrong, because they wrote down at least one ordered pair incorrectly, which meant whatever number they wrote down was going to be wrong when they put it in the domain or the range. That is not the best way to do it from a graph. And if you do it, that's fine. Oh, hold that thought. Don't actually know when we started. I'll say it's been 10 minutes. I don't write the starting times of the class, so trade your phone out, please. So here's how you would do it from ordered pairs. If you do it from a graph, it's different. We may or may not practice it from a graph. So you need to figure out how you're going to do it from a graph by either watching the video, or if you change the points on the graph into ordered pairs, be very careful. Way too many people flipped an X and a Y on at least one of the ordered pairs, and so that meant they got their domain and range wrong. Both of them, domain and range. You take out all the x values for the domain. 0, 4, -2. Man, my board's off again. 3, 1, and 10. First thing you need to make sure of is you got every single point covered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. I better have 6 x values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, covered that. So I got all the x values. Now, nothing yet. I'm going to put these in order because there's no duplicates. So I don't have to worry about repeating anything because there aren't any duplicates. So you just say, okay, well, I just need to put those in order. And I'd check again, make sure you have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Done. That's the domain. Range is a little trickier. Here's where people messed up. Oh, what just happened? Totally disappeared. Oh, there. So now, same starting thing. I write down all the y values for the range. 1, 0, 5, 4, -3 again, 10, -3. Now, I do have some duplicates now. And I'm going to come back to this again in a second. I have -3 3 times. I don't need it all 3 times. So I don't care if you don't do it this way. Again, you just need to get the correct final answer. If you just want to start writing them in order and then you don't write anything twice, that's fine too. So now my range, lowest number is -3. Now on the quiz, and again, it took me a while to figure this part out, but I believe what some people did in an exam, a problem similar to this, is they stopped right here. And they said, oh, well, that's my range right there. That's it. The reason I think they did that is because they were going, the only 2 numbers are 4 and 10, and they looked up in the domain and saw that there's a 4 and a 10. And they thought, oh, yeah, I don't repeat numbers. That's not the way it works. You can have the same number that's in the domain also be in the range. You just don't repeat numbers within the domain. So like I don't repeat any numbers in that. I don't repeat any numbers in this. But I can have the same numbers across the range of the domain. So 4 and 10 are fine to also be down here. And I think that's what some people were thinking is you don't even repeat them from here down to here. That is not what don't repeat means. So if you were thinking that, if that wasn't clear, Tyler, Arquise, Rashawn, who else we got? Jonathan, Jamin, Lazar, are you up? All right. Okay, I'm past the point where I'm babysitting kids. So. It'll all, if they care, it'll happen what's called organically. If they don't care, nothing I can do about it anymore. Any questions on what we just did for domain and range? Because there were a lot of people that missed it. I will say more people missed it from the graph, which I'm hoping we can cover before the exit ticket, but don't count on it. I would make sure I reviewed that if I were you before the exit ticket on your own from the video that we did it on. All right, so the next thing. Oh yeah, that's it. All right, so here's the next section where, and this didn't cost a ton of points, but I was still surprised that so many people struggled on this section. There was a section that said either circle everything that's a function or right beneath every relation, whether it's a function or not a function. Basically, you just had to understand what is a function, what is not a function. There were 3 graphs. They weren't difficult. Like, there was nothing tricky about figuring out whether or not they were a function as far as doing the test, which is the vertical line test, which I'll do in a minute. But for some reason, there was one of the 3 graphs, more than half the people got wrong. I still don't know why. I mean, it wasn't that tricky. It was somewhat similar to what you're looking at here. So I'm going to review this type of graph. If this clarifies it, maybe you can tell me what you were thinking before, because I still don't understand why so many people miss it. The test that we do is called what? You remember the name? It's called the vertical line test. It's called that because we're going to take a vertical line and we're going to move it back and forth across the graph, across the data, and then we're going to use that to figure out whether or not it's functional. So, first thing I'll say is, when you get a graph, it's going to be black and white. Maybe that's part of the problem, I don't know, because we got all these other lines on there that are also black and white. We've got the y-axis, we got the x-axis, we got all these grid lines. When you do the vertical line test, you're only testing the relation, the data, the x's and the y's. Which are that? This is all you're testing. This is just the grid. I mean, that's just graph paper. Happens to have an x and y axis on it, but it's just graph paper. This is what we're putting on the graph paper. So that's what we're going to wind up testing when we do the vertical line test. None of the other lines matter. So if I take this vertical line and if I go back and forth across, again, just those two lines that I am calling the data, I'm seeing, do I ever hit any 2 points at the same time? Yeah, on this line here, I'm only hitting 1 point everywhere on that line. Then there's no points that I hit in between them. They don't cross over each other. And then once I get to this line, I only hit 1 point everywhere on that line. So here's what you need to write. Well, I'm going to say it actually a different way than what I was just saying. Same way I said it before. If you do hit 2 lines at once, 2 points at once, it is not a function. You can, I prefer you just kind of listen to what I'm saying and then write in your own words, don't just copy it. So again, if you do hit 2 points at one time when you do this vertical line test, it is not a function. If you don't hit 2 points at once, then it is a function. So for this one, we never hit 2 points at once. So that is a function. I'm going to give you a minute to write all that down. I'll say kind of all that again so you can fill in the gaps if you missed anything. Well, yeah, there was one graph that, like I said, more than half the people missed, and I don't understand why.
So the line, two things touch, it's not a function. If they don't touch, it is.
Correct. Somebody said something in another class about, oh, well, those 2 lines, meaning these 2 lines on the graph, they don't touch. It doesn't matter whether they touch or not. It has nothing to do with that. It's the vertical line that you're talking about, that we move, this blue line. That's the line we're talking about moving back and forth and whether or not it touches twice. Yeah, again, that was the first time I heard somebody talk about it. The vertical line test is based on this blue line. That's why it's called the vertical line test, because that's a vertical line. It's not whether or not those 2 lines touch or not. So that's the only thing I could think of that was confusing. Is some people thought those 2 lines had to touch or something, so that was why they said not a function. But that is definitely a function right there. It loses its magnetism. Go. So here's what you're doing now. Oh, shoot. I meant to tell you to get one of these. I forgot. So on the first page, there are 6 graphs. I want you to tell me, some of them are just points on the graph, some of them are actual lines. I want you to tell me, is the graph, again, you're going to do this 6 times, is the graph a function or not a function?
If there's 2 next to, like, in the same row, it's automatically a function. I forgot.
That's why I should
Let me look at my notes.
I don't know why.
It's been a week. I forgot.
Well, we just went over it. That's why. That's the exact reason why
I have it in my notes.
I knew I was going to help.
I have it in my notes.
Take one and pass it back, please. That might have an answer. I may not have enough of these.
Okay.
1, 2. As soon as you do the 6. For 2. All right, so you can use this one. That's all he did was draw some pretty stuff on it. If he did, I don't think he did probably any work on any pages. Let me see if I have another one.
Here, you have one here.
Oh, did you have another one? Oh, if you could pass that one back to Kayla. Then. Oh, here. You can have this one then. If you want. This one. No, not until you do the first 6 and your second anyway. I just told you what to do. So on the first 6, you're telling me, is it a function or not? You don't have to do domain and range, even though it says that. Do not have to do domain and range. Just telling me if it's a function or not. So it's the vertical line test. Same thing we just did. Use a pencil, edge of a paper, edge of a card. I don't know what. Are you done? Oh, I mean, in all honesty, you don't need anything. You just can look and see if vertically you're going to hit, if you're going to hit 2 points or not vertically. Don't really have to even do the vertical.
Mr. Can I step outside? Or can I just make it again?
Just step outside. Did you have? Are you done with the first 6?
Yeah.
All right, I'll look at them while you're out.
Okay, not.
You're correct. I'll give you another minute. It doesn't take long. All right, so let's talk about them. And there they are. All right, so first 3. Number 1. Why not?
Because the last one has it.
Yeah, these last 2 points. So again, these are just points on a graph, not lines or anything, but it's the same concept. If I go back and forth, I hit 1 point there, 1 point there, 1 point there, 1 point there, but then when I get over here, I hit both of those points at the same time. As soon as that happens, you're done. You can say not a function. You don't even need to, I mean, those are the last 2 anyway, but you don't even need to keep going after that. Remember, the x-axis, the y-axis, all those grid lines mean nothing. Just think of that as graphic. What about number 2? So again, that was not a function because we hit those 2 points at the same time.
Function.
A function, number 2. Yeah.
So here, I hit 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, 1. Oh, it's not going to let me hit 1 point. 1 point there, 1 point there. It's not. Okay. 1 point there and 1 point there. I never hit 2 points at once. In that relation, that set of data. So if you never hit 2 points at once, then it is a function. So yes, that one is a function. What about number 3? So again, here I hit a whole bunch of points twice. Like pretty much everywhere on that graph, I'm constantly hitting 2 points at once, except for the very first one. As soon as it happens, I can say, yeah, that's not a function. So that is not a function. All right, what about number 4? Upside down V. Again, same concept. If I take that vertical line, if I go back, oh wow, I didn't mean to do that. There. If I go back and forth over that, I never hit 2 points at once. The only data on that, the only thing I'm testing is that upside down V. None of those other lines matter. They're just, again, think of them as graph paper. Just so happens that this part of the graph paper has numbers on it. Is it? You tell me. Okay, yeah. So I said no, I don't hit 2 dots. So yes, it is a function, correct. What about number 5? So if I go back and forth, same thing. It doesn't matter that it's curved. If I'm not hitting 2 points, which I don't, then yes, that is a function. What about number 6? Yeah, that one's a little weird, but I mean, it's the same principle. If I ever hit 2 points at once, which I actually hit an infinite number of points at once on this one, if I get on top of that line, I'm hitting an infinite number of points at once. So that is not a function. That's all there is to it. Again, I still have, if anybody can explain to me what maybe you were thinking that hopefully just you understand now, then I would appreciate it, because I don't understand why so many people missed on it. You're third in line. Who did I? Oh, wait, was you the one I was holding? Oh, okay. Then you can go ahead, and then Coraline, when he gets back.
Question: why does it say Danger Cops again on your?
Because apparently somebody thought I looked like Captain Man.
I do. I just thought it said that.
Yep. So I got to look that up now. That's my reminder to look it up. All right. So that's the section that a lot of people struggle on. Well, they struggled on one of the graphs. They did struggle sometimes on something else, but I'm not going back over that today. So you're going to want, there's another section. So on your exit ticket on Thursday, again, there's a section that says underneath each relation, write function or not a function. You're getting the same exact exit ticket. I just added something to it. And I changed, obviously, some of the numbers. So everything you just saw, even though it was a week ago, you're going to see again. All right, so now.
Honestly, I do see it. Me too, right? Yeah. The face. Yeah. One with the next in here. Yeah.
So how do we evaluate a function? This was the other section where a lot of people lost points. What's evaluate mean?
Solve.
Means solve. So somehow we're looking to solve this, right? Here's one mistake I saw. Some people tried to solve for x and do like a 2-step equation, +3, then divide by 4. There's nothing over here that I can't, this is not the number 2. So I can't add 3, like say +3 and make that 5. Like this is not the number 2. This means something else, which we'll go over in a second. This is a function though. That's all this notation is saying, is that we have a function. Sometimes a function might be in a graph format like we just had. We just saw a bunch of graphs. Some of them were functions. Sometimes they might be in a table, like a chart with x and y values. Sometimes they might be in ordered pairs. This one just happens to be in an equation form, but it is a function. That's what this is saying. This is a function of x. That's all that notation means. It still is the answer. This is the answer. We don't know what the answer is. It's an unknown, but it's the answer. This is kind of like the equation part over here. So we're going to use the equation to find out the answer. That's what that's where the solving comes into play. What does this mean though? That we just changed it, right? That's all that means. So Jaheem, wake up. Michaela, pay attention because this is a big one. Jonathan, Jamin, Marquise is up. Well, again, this is about how complex the math got. This is as tough as the math got, this kind of problem right here. And it wasn't hard. But you did have to understand one thing. A lot of you didn't understand this one thing because we did a super fast lesson on it. And we're doing a super fast one again today because it's not real tough. When I write 2 in parentheses, all I'm telling you by doing that is that x equals 2. That's it. All you gotta remember. Well, I mean, I guess you do have to remember what to do with that. How do you know it? I had x there in parentheses originally. Now I have a 2. That just means x equals 2. That's it. So we need to say, okay, well, if x is 2, it's not unknown anymore. So I don't need x. We only need x when it's unknown because the variable is an unknown number. But if I know what the number is, I can get rid of the variable everywhere in the problem. It's not unknown. So I get rid of, this is 4 times x, by the way. That's 4x means 4 times x. So if I'm plugging 2 in for x, then that becomes 4 times 2. I still need to subtract 3. Some people messed up because they did plug in the value for x, but then they forgot to finish the math by using whatever else was in the equation. I still gave some points for that because they at least understood they needed to plug the number in for x, but they lost points because they didn't understand they needed to finish the whole math equation. So if I do the math on that, the answer, f of 2, is 5. I just say 4 times 2 is 8. 8 subtract 3 is 5. Coraline, you can go ahead out. Trade your phone out, please.
You get dollar registers?
What? Oh, you looking at my. So here's your time to ask questions. Do not wait until the exit ticket to ask me. I mean, I might, unless they were absent today, I might pop somebody if you say, what does evaluate mean? That's the whole point of the problem, is knowing what evaluate means. Obviously, you don't know how many times I want to. I mean, literally, I go over in a lesson like this, and we say 1,000,000 times what evaluate means, and then what's evaluate mean? It's the whole point of the question, knowing what that means. So you should know what it means. On the 3rd page, you don't even really need the 3rd page. You can just do it on paper and in your notebook if you want. There are 2 equations you're going to use. You're not using every function, every equation up at the top. You're only using these 2. One of them is g of x equals that. One of them is j of x equals that. I want you to tell me, what would g of 2 be? And what would g of 0 be? So again, you would use that equation. And then I want you to tell me for the other equation, what would j of 3 be? J of 1 be? What's that mean? What am I asking you?
What's the variable?
Well, I'm going to combine both of those because between the 2 of them, that's right. It just means what is the answer when the variable, which is always x in these, x and x, when the variable equals whatever the number is in parentheses. So you would just plug the number into the equation and solve. That's it. That's what evaluate means, solve. So you just plug it in the number for the variable and then solve it. And depending on what x is, you get a different answer. So I'll give you a couple minutes. Again, the math is not super difficult on it, so it shouldn't take long. This is a -3. That's about the only difficult thing. So this is -3 times x.
So let me make sure I got this on the test. So we're solving it like we're solving it as a equation, right? Like
No, absolutely not. Well, I mean, again, it depends on when you. When I think of solving an equation, you're trying to figure out what x equals.
No, not like that. I mean, like this is explaining to us, like, you know, like.
You're just plugging in the
values of
x and then doing math.
Yeah. I know it's
Whatever x equals, you put that number in place of x, and then you do the math and that's your answer.
Yeah, what is that called?
It's called evaluating.
Oh,
That's what
it's
it's called.
evaluating?
Evaluating a function. Yeah, that's exactly what it's called. Which is why we just spend so much time talking about what evaluating.
I thought last week, not last week, you put still solving something right.
I'll give you a couple of minutes. Again, the math's not tough. Either you know what you're doing or you don't. If you don't know what you're doing, it's not just going to magically come to you. You could still try it. And if you make a mistake, sometimes at least you learn from making a mistake as opposed to just copying down the right thing later. So I would still say it's probably worth it to try it. If anybody, did you do these, Marty? Yeah. A lot of you are going to be surprised at your grade, not in a good way. Because you're thinking you got it, and I thought you had it too. But your grade did not reflect it. So I'm going to put those in. I'll get them in today, because if I don't get them in today, they won't be in until Wednesday morning, and you need to see what you got.
This is the first one, second.
We're doing this problem on the board. Can I go? All in.
Did you go? I can go?
Were you next?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's kidding, he said.
What's that?
He said he was kidding.
No, I was talking about you.
Yes.
I could have sworn there was somebody else waiting for you. All right.
No.
Nobody else is waiting?
Wait, I think it was Louis. Were you waiting? No. Oh.
I really thought there was somebody like closer up. Did you do these?
Oh, I can tell you if you want me to. I write it down. I mean, that's easy. It's waste time.
That might have been what you thought before the last exit ticket too.
Oh, that one, yeah. I didn't get that one yesterday.
Okay, so you didn't get it before, because I want to say there was one section that killed you. Did fine on 2 sections, but 1 section really hurt you a lot. All right.
Well, my school is like,
I did not go over how to evaluate from a graph. Oh no, I'm sorry. We do get that today. We'll get to that for sure today. So go ahead and do those. I'll give you another. How do we get out? Oh crap! No, we got to move. We got to get out 103. All right. So quickly, I got to do these really quickly. So I plug in. I might not even do all of these. I'll just give you the answer. This means what? G of 2 means what? What does it mean? What am I telling you? I'm telling you x equals 2. That's all I'm telling you by that notation. I'm telling you x is 0 down here. I'm telling you x is, again, the j and the g have nothing to do with it. I'm telling you that x equals all those numbers that are inside the parentheses. Doesn't matter if it's a j, a g, an f, none of that matters. I'm just telling you what the x is in parentheses. No, the x does matter. If it was a different variable, then it would mean you're changing that variable out, but you don't have to worry about that on my quizzes. So now I just plug in 2 for x. If I do the math, I get g of 2 equals -5, because it's -6 plus 1, which is -5.
I got -3.
That's not correct. So did you plug in 2 for x?
No, that's
That'd be the problem. Yeah, that would do it. Again, so many people think they got it, and then boom, that happens. And next thing you know, your easy A turns into barely a C. G of 0 is 1. You can check your own math. J of 3 was 15. And J of 1 was 11. Again, you plug in the number for the x, and you do the math. Does anybody have a question on that? We're not done. We have one more section.
I'm just confused.
On what? I
Everything,
need.
like, how to just get all those numbers out of this to the number.
This is telling you x is 2. So if x is 2, I plug in 2 for x, and then I do the math. This all worked out is -5. This is -6. -3 times 2 is -6. Plus 1 is -5.
I thought those were different. I thought those were, never mind, I thought those were separate.
Well, they're separate answers I'm asking for, but it's the same equation I'm using.
Yeah, I thought they were.
This is a separate equation over here. But these, if it says G and G, then you use the same equation. I'm just asking you for a different x value. All right, really quickly, on a graph. So if I give you a graph and I ask you to evaluate using the graph. So I'm not giving you an equation. I'm not giving you a chart or pairs. I'm giving you a graph. What does this mean, f of -1 then? What's f of -1 mean?
Question before we do that. So you said that.
No, I don't have time for a question. We got 1 minute for me to go over this. It means the same exact thing. I don't care if it's in an equation. I don't care if it's on a graph. I don't care if it's ordered pairs. If you see notation like this, it's telling you x equals -1, x equals 3. Now the way you get the answer is different. There's nothing to plug in, but if you remember, we said a line is all of the answers, right? That's what the line is. So we find where x is -1. We go up to the line. That's my answer. Wherever the line hits the y-axis. So that point is 1. The y value is what I'm looking for. Because x is -1. I just need to know what y is. So what is the answer in number 14? You're putting your stuff up. You better look up here and see if you can figure it out or not. 'Cause I'm not coming back to this. Well, here's where x is 3. I go to the line. What's the y value for that point on the line? -1. That's how you do those. I should not let you go. You just missed that last thing. I hope you can do it from a graph. There's your answers real quick if you want to write them down and figure it out later. It is recorded, so.
So make sure I'm right, make sure you're right, because sir always told me something about down the wall. You said you did this. If I started with these two, then you guys did that one?
Absolutely, yeah, you do multiplication. Now, it's not because they're on the left.
I know.
Multiplication first,
Yeah.
then addition. Yes, absolutely. Really quickly to finish this out, I didn't really get to it. This is not a function. Reason it's not a function is because I have 2 lines coming from one input, or one x value. It'll be recorded. Again, I don't need to look any farther than that. Anytime you see 2 lines coming from one single input, it is not a function. So here, this is a function because, again, only 1 line coming from each x. Here, this is also 1 line coming from each x. So that would be a function. Just to close it out, you could also write these as ordered pairs. This would be 1, 7, 1, -7. I have the same x value, but 2 different y values. Were you wanting to look at your grade? Is that what? All right, let me look it up. Oh, there it is right there. I don't want us to record me saying your